Hello, Guardians. Welcome back to Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Corey Deerigan. Alongside me, as always, is the Jotun Toten, Vault Dwelling, Light Falling, Disciple, Mayor of the Deepstone Crypt. The one, the only, man, the myth, the legend. The Oryx slaying? The Crota slicing? The Tanix reviving Josh Finney.
See, I like to think that you're just adding random names on at this point so that Trevor has more work to do down the line.
I am. That's the point. You know, when we get to 200,
it's not fair. That's not right. That's not right.
No, look, he started. He set a precedent. Okay, he set a precedent, and now he's going to live with the consequences.
We're going to get to a point where it's going to take 10 minutes to read all the names.
It's like the game in How I Met Your Mother.
But,
yeah.
Oh, God. If I had to take a drink for every nickname, I would be dead before we got halfway through the list.
Hi, Josh.
Corey, it's good to be here today.
It is good to be here. You know why? Because there's a lot to talk about, actually.
There is a lot to talk about. I genuinely was sitting here, because normally we're waiting on Schwabs to come in, and I don't see him until, 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon, at least, Central Time. And by then, trying to do dinner, trying to get set up, and things like that. I'm usually out doing things, or I'm working on some stuff at home. So it's kind of hard to plan a show when everything largely your news revolves around the story that dropped on Tuesday, and the TWAB that may be dropping an hour before we go live.
It's true.
So it makes it a little bit hard. I really appreciated waking up this morning, though, to a teaser trailer from Bungie for the Destiny 2 showcase on August 23rd. Getting confirmed that they're going to talk about the raid next week. And then I had the TWAB before I even sat down for lunch. I was so excited.
A lunchtime TWAB.
Whole show.
A lunchtime TWAB, a showcase announcement, and raid details, all before lunch.
And raid deets, all before lunch. Yes, I appreciated that. I put out a fun little poll on our Twitter account today, and I don't know whether to laugh or be insulted, but the question I posed to the community was, in light of a new Destiny showcase coming next month, should Josh's wallet prepare itself? And the options were yes or yes but bigger. Mm-hmm. All of you voted with 80% of you voted yes but bigger. I don't know whether you know me or you really know me at this point. But that means that a collector's edition is probably going live the same day. It means Bungie's going to have more of my money tied up. Just thank God they take the money right away. They don't sit there and put it on like a credit card hold like Best Buy or something.
Right.
I tend to buy other collectibles, and I ordered this. Corey, I'm sure you have watched the 1980s Star Wars Droids cartoon at some point.
I've seen it at some point in my life, yes.
So that is one of the first real appearances of Boba Fett. Mm-hmm. Okay. He had a different color of armor. In the old Star Wars timeline, it was one of the earliest times he'd ever appeared in something, because that takes place before the original trilogy. Anyways, I digress. They made a Black Series figure last year that comes in a box that looks almost like a VHS box from Droids, and when you open up the little panel in front, boom, he's right there with all his accessories and everything else. There's a little panel talking about him in the show and showing like some screenshots from his episode. It's awesome. I ordered that little bastard almost a full year ago, and it still hasn't come. And periodically, Target goes in and checks to make sure there's still money in the account. Mm-hmm. And it really bothers me, because I'll see a hold put on the account randomly for like $30. And I'm like, whoa, what the hell is this from Target? And then I have to remind myself, oh, that's something that I ordered a year ago and I'm still waiting on. So thank God Bungie doesn't do that to me with a $200 Nerf gun.
Yeah.
Or collector's editions. There's going to be a new shirt. I'm going to order the new shirt. It's the day a new season starts. I'm going to order stuff. It's a slippery slope here, people.
Yeah.
It's a very slippery slope. I just thank God I don't like the Solstice shirt. I can just get the seal and be okay with it. I need the shipping to go down. I need the shipping prices to get to a more reasonable point.
I want to know when the Shaq Satchie's going on sale. That's what I want to know.
I want to know when I'm getting my Bungie Day order. I ordered the Trials of Osiris 3/4 sleeve shirt.
Mm-hmm.
and some of the armory pin bags.
Ooh.
I'm very excited for those to show up. They went back on sale, and they're all like pinnacle weapons from late Forsaken, early Shadowkeep. So Mountaintop is in there, Recluse,
Oh, you don't
Breakneck.
So I just saw the Solstice shirt just now. You don't like that?
No, not really. It's too bright for me.
I kind of like it.
It's too bright. I'm okay. I don't need to buy everything that I see at this point. Like half my I think you can adequately split up my t-shirts into about a third of them are probably Star Wars shirts, a third of them are probably Destiny shirts, and the last like 20 to 30% is like neutral colored shirts with like nothing on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel okay with skipping a shirt now and again, especially with their exuberant shipping.
It's fair.
So
that's fair.
Good. I'm good. But Corey, like we said, we have a really packed show. We should just jump into the nitty gritty of it.
Yes, let's do it. What are we jumping into?
Let's start with
the
that
announcement.
Showcase. What? Wait, what? Huh?
I said, are we starting with the showcase announcement? But then
we're starting with showcase announcement. So, like we said this morning, we all woke up to a teaser trailer. Nothing new in it. Just showing really a lot of the like closing scenes from the expansions that we've had so far. The only shot that might be new is Eris approaching the Darkness statue. I can't remember if that was shown at the very end of Shadowkeep or not.
That's in Shadowkeep. I remember that distinctly.
Okay. I couldn't remember if I knew that we saw a scene of her in the pyramid. I didn't remember of her approaching the statue was all.
Yeah.
But I think let's talk about the teaser for a second. It focuses, so that shot is notable because that's the only time we see a character other than the Witness and Rolk.
Mm-hmm.
Is Eris.
Mm-hmm.
So Eris this is probably Eris's. So I know we've said this repeatedly. We talked about it on episode 100 with Christie's question, but this is probably the swan song for everyone's favorite hive-loving hero.
Mm-hmm.
I got to expect, if it's not, I expect her and Finch to go retire on a beach somewhere after the final shape.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe on the moon. I don't know. I don't know what you go do after that. But I feel like Eris's end has to come either at the end of this year or during the campaign of Shadowkeep. It's time.
Yeah.
It's time. As much as I love Eris as a character, I think we've done about all we can. She's helped everybody else overcome their traumas. She has avenged her fire team. She's exercised her own nightmares. She has helped, she helped defeat Crota. She helped defeat Oryx and Savathun. It's time.
Mm-hmm.
It's time. She's the most fleshed out character we've gotten in the entire franchise. It's time for her to go.
Yep.
I would also note how heavily the Callus imagery is. Like the stuff from this season in particular. We get the shot of the Leviathan. You see the Castellum. It zooms in on the Callus statue. Obviously grown over with the Aragorn. I think you can reasonably deduce we're going to take out Callus in Lightfall.
Mm-hmm.
I think that, we talk about dominoes that have to fall. I think Rulk is there to signify another disciple besides just Callus is going to have to drop. If I had to guess where we go from here, you look at the enemies we still have to deal with, and there's 4 big ones. There's, of course, the Witness. Mm-hmm. There's Xivu Arath. Mm-hmm. Callus, and Spider. Mm-hmm. Really are kind of like the big 4 remaining. I don't even know if I would put Spider in there, but we're going to have to deal with him at some point, but I don't know if that
I don't know if I would consider him a key enemy the way that Callus and
I would honestly, I'd probably shift Aramis into that category. Because I'm firmly a believer that Aramis is not dead, and we know Savathun isn't really gone.
Right.
So you probably got 4 or 5 things you really have to deal with here.
Mm-hmm. You think they could do that in 10 seasons, theoretically?
So that's my big. I think that's my big question. It's something I kind of want to ponder more once we see the showcase, because we'll have a better idea of where we're going. But nothing. It also doesn't mean that we have to wrap all of that up like right now. I mean, like the threads that are still hanging out there, like Spider. I could very easily see like them punting to the seasons after the final shape, like. Spider is like, and the enemy of my enemy is my friend situation, and like you team up with Mithrax to take him down or something in one of the seasons after.
It just seems like there's a lot to wrap up in in 10 seasons now.
Savathun, Xivu Arath, Callus, and the Witness are the 4 big enemy plot threads you have to wrap up.
Yeah.
You have to wrap those up.
Yeah.
And so if you figure it, though, the Witness is getting a dungeon. Or a raid, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
He's getting a raid.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be an Oryx situation where you kill him in the campaign, but he's not really dead. You have to do the raid to make sure he's dead.
Right.
Or like his vestige is trying to like come back or something and you take him down. Whatever. It's going to be something wacky like that. And if it's a campaign boss fight on the level of the Savathun fight, I'm okay with that.
Mm-hmm.
Totally okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would wager to say that Callus is probably going to get a dungeon. I can't imagine not taking Callus out in a dungeon at this point, because I think if you only have 2 raids left, one of them has to go to the Witness. The other one, I would say, has to go to Savathun or Xivu Arath.
Or both.
And I'm wagering it's Xivu Arath at this point.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I would like to see is, Savathun, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and her and the Lucian Hive team up with us, and like, we've talked about it, like the Portals moment in Avengers Endgame, right?
Right.
And I can imagine we're in a Xivu Arath, we're in the raid fighting Xivu Arath, and when it gets to final stand, like, I don't know how you would ever make this work in a raid, but I would love, like, when you get the health bar all the way down, like, a cutscene plays, and when you think you have her, like, Corey, did you ever watch Game of Thrones?
I did not.
So there's a moment in season 8 that we were anticipating for years and years and years, if you had read the books and watched the show, called the Clegane Bowl, that we were waiting for, where the Mountain, Sandor Clegane, is destined to fight his brother, the Mountain. The Hound is destined to fight the Mountain. His older brother, Gregor Clegane, who is the opposite of a knight. He's not scrupulous at all. He's horrible. He rapes and murders for fun. And they clash in the penultimate episode of Game of Thrones. And as they're fighting to the death, Sandor tackles his brother out of the King's Tower into a fiery inferno. He kills them both. That's how the Clegane Bowl ends. I imagine that with Savathun, like Xivu Arath is like trying to escape to the ascendant plane, and Savathun comes in and is like, nope, fuck this. Like, I'm taking you. I'll kill myself to take you with me. That's it. Something like that would be awesome to watch. Like, she uses Immaru to like bind them together, and then the Guardian has to step forward and just crush it to kill them both. Would be awesome to watch. It would kill 2 birds with 1 stone.
Right.
If they don't give Xivu Arath a raid, she certainly has to be a boss at some point in at least a dungeon, I would say. But I think because Xivu Arath has not gotten the build-up that Savathun got.
No.
Savathun we dreaded coming for years. Like, they started teasing that 2-3 years before, and even if you go back even further into Vanilla D1 or Vanilla D2 with Savathun's song. Those were things that were laid forever. Xivu Arath, we knew about her from the Books of Sorrow. We got her teased a little bit if you paid attention to who Duel and Karu was and to the story of the Dreaming City, but it really wasn't until Season of the Hunt that it was like, oh, Xivu Arath is here too.
Yeah, it just
seems
seems like
she's doing. She's just kind of fucking around.
Yeah, it just seems like she's always just been off to the side. It feels like, not that they don't know what to do with her, but that's kind of what it feels like in the story, and they're just kind of like avoiding it until they have something. How do we make her
unique when we've already had Crota, Oryx, Omnigul? You've had
Savathun.
Savathun. You've had I was trying to think of the boss of Pit of Heresy. You've had Duel and Karu. Like, you've had all these huge hive bosses. There's not any left except for Xivu Arath, and it's like, how do you make Xivu Arath a truly unique enemy here without treading previous ground? Like with Savathun, we had to give her the light, right, to make her this truly unique adversary. What are you gonna do what's she gonna do? Shoot fucking stasis at me or something? Oh, I haven't seen that before.
Right.
So I think a hint of where the story is going. Like, I was talking about this with Nerd and Colonel this morning. We were talking in a group text, and it's like, well, there's 2 seasons to go. Bungie's never revealed with 2 seasons to go.
Yeah.
It's always the season of, and it's like a 6-month season. So what does this mean for the seasons? When is this coming? I think like a late February, early March time frame is when you're going to get it. that lines up with 2 more 100-something day seasons.
Right.
That's roughly where we end up at, is back where Witch Queen came out.
Seems
I
right.
think it's real. I was talking with them and with John, and we were like, what do we think is going to be shown here? Like, how far in advance do you show? Because there's still 2 seasons to go. And I think it's going to be more of here, kind of like with the Savathun thing, except that was 1 season. They had to cover a lot of ground. It's like, well, this is what's going to happen. Now, how do we get there? Yeah, the next 2 seasons are really like about laying the groundwork for how do we get there. And I don't think them showing the Traveler above Earth as the first image you see is, besides the pyramids, obviously, is coincidence. It's got the light draining device on it from Gaul from during the Red War.
Yeah.
I think that is very poignant. We've long theorized that the Earth is going to be, swallowed by darkness. But I think this also may be, like, beyond the obvious of Lightfall and, like, oh, we're going to get the first cinematic. Okay, that's a given. The new season, that's a given. Maybe the first footage of King's Fall Reborn is a given.
Yeah.
Where do we go beyond that, though? Like, this is more than just that. Like, I think we're getting the next subclass announcement.
Yeah. That
because
seems
we
reasonable.
were supposed to get one with Witch Queen. They have confirmed that. So I think they got 2 in the works. I think you'll get 1 with the expansion and 1 like 2 seasons in.
That seems reasonable, right?
I can't imagine dropping 2 at once when you just gave us all the new light subclasses.
No, I think you get one the first season of. I think you get one with the campaign when it launches, and I think you get one the 3rd season.
Yeah. Because with Lightfall, it would make sense if you had to go through part of the campaign using only your darkness powers.
Right.
I think that would add to the drama of the story. This also, I think, would allow them to vault the EDZ finally.
Oh, God, yeah.
Use
no more
whatever
Lake of Shadows
magic you have to say, okay, the Cosmodrome is still there because of new light and things like that. Vault the EDZ for at least this year.
Yeah, but they could easily just make the new light experience that, and then you never go back. I feel like.
If I had to guess, I think that, and I do think that that's likely what will happen. They spent so much time bringing the Cosmodrome back. I can't imagine vaulting it that quickly.
Yeah.
I have to think that what will likely happen is we may start getting the first hints of what they want Goliath to be.
Yeah.
We may hear about the cloud-based solution. This is purely speculative.
Yeah.
Right? I think you can pencil in a new subclass, but in terms of pure speculation, a cloud-based solution feels like something that needs to be talked about at this point, because they've seen the backlash now that there has been for removing the campaigns, and newer players are coming in more confused. Luke Smith has talked about how we have to have a better new player experience. And this game simply cannot wait 2 years for that to happen.
Yeah.
You need that now, even if it's just even if it's just launching you from the Cosmodrome straight in to the Homecoming mission. You have to do something.
Yeah.
Which I think is the most logical way to do it, right? You force them to finish the stuff in the Cosmodrome, and the first time you fly to the tower, the Homecoming mission happens.
Yeah.
That's the only possible explanation I can think of.
Yeah.
I don't know beyond that, and smarter people than me will make those decisions, right? But I think there has to be a solution for that. At some point, there has to be a solution, and we need it fairly soon. Make it an optional download. Do whatever. Like, don't require it to be a part of my game if I don't want it to be. But something's going to have to happen. Something else I think that I don't think this is guaranteed by any means. I mean, there's a 50-50 chance of this happening. But if I really had to put my odds, I'd say it's like 60-40 that we ditch legacy consoles.
For Lightfall?
Yes.
That would be...
It's time. It's time. As of right now, there are more than 20 million PlayStation 5s and 20 million Xbox Series X's and S's out there in the wild. By the time you get through another holiday cycle, it's going to be closer to 30 million of each. It's time. It's time.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. We are now actively at a point where it is going to hold the game back.
Yeah.
That's the whole real reason that we have the content vault to begin with.
Yeah.
One of the reasons we have the content vault. It's time to let it go. I know it will be painful for those who have not been able to get a new console, but I think announcing it in August gives you 6 months to procure one.
Yeah. I would be interested to know the percentage of our audience who plays on last gen consoles still. Just
Yeah,
as like a
if you play
sample
on a
size.
last gen console, please give us like write in and give us your perspective, because I don't want to sound like I'm bashing everyone, but
Yeah.
it is night and day
Yeah.
compared. I tried to play on an Xbox One a couple months ago, and it was rough, man. It was really, I cannot imagine trying to play the Witch Queen campaign on an Xbox One or on a PS4, like a base one.
Yeah.
Maybe the One X and the PS4 Pro are okay, but I don't even think you can differentiate at that point, because you're still supporting tech that is really, was developed in like 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
We know that there's been issues with the engine. In fact, one of the emote artists was talking about it on Twitter today. There's a new glaive emote in the shop for Solstice that changes colors based on whatever class you have equipped. And that's really cool. But he was like, yeah, we had a lot of engine limitations. We had a lot of issues making this work.
Yeah.
And this looks like something that should be so basic.
Yeah.
Like, this just keeps going back to what Luke has said. Like, the game is spaghetti code at this point.
Yeah. We should put I mean, tomorrow in the episode post, we should put a poll on Twitter too, just to see, okay, do you play on a base Xbox One or PS4? Do you play on a series
Current gen.
an Xbox One X or PS4 Pro, next gen or PC? Like, I just want to know, like, the audience.
Sorry, Stadia.
Yeah, nobody who's playing on Stadia. The one person emails us, hey, you didn't put Stadia on your Twitter poll.
On vacation, I logged in via Stadia, and that's not a joke.
How'd it play?
Yeah, I think that we've reached a point now, and 6 months, I think 6 months with a huge holiday cycle coming up is, I think, a more than fair time to say that. Like, I've seen a lot of Series S's in the wild. I've even seen some PS5s.
Yeah,
so
and if you look online,
not like they're...
If you look online, sometimes Series S's are like $250.
Yeah, Amazon had some weird thing going on a couple weeks ago with that, right around Prime Day.
Yeah.
There's going to be holiday bundles. They've been out for 2 years. There's going to be some holiday bundles. You're out of your mind if you think that Sony's not going to do a God of War style bundle.
Yeah.
They've already got one going for Horizon Forbidden West. Like, it's going to happen. I wouldn't even be shocked if they came out and said, hey, we'll do a PS5 bundle with Lightfall next year. Like, they did it for the older ones in Destiny 1 and even Destiny 2. Like, why not? I'm not saying it'll be like a special console or anything, but just like package it in with consoles or something.
God, if they did a cool like outline like they did for Taken King with the gold.
Oh, dude, I'd buy it so fast. I see, the beauty of the PS5 is you only have to sell the console, just sell the plates.
I know.
I'm really hoping that they do that now. Thanks a lot, Corey.
You're welcome.
More things for me to spend money on. On the console, I don't play Destiny on.
That's fine. You'll get over it. You'll figure it out. You'll figure it out.
It's fine. It'll be in my living room. I don't care. I mean, I dreamed of getting a Destiny Xbox, so this is fine. I think we're due for a couple of other things during this. I think that's when you're going to get the first. We know we're getting PvP details next week, but I think that they're deliberately getting some things out of the way before this showcase. I think that a true comp rework they will save for that day. Showing maybe the glory system in action.
Right.
I expect an announcement that Zavala has now joined everybody else. Zavala and Shaxx are now getting the vendor update like everyone else. I don't know what else. Maybe some more reprised content.
I mean, they'll probably show off some maps and stuff, right? I mean, didn't they say they were going to bring out a new map this season?
So we did get the new map this season. We're going to get a reprised map next season.
Reprised map next season, okay.
Yeah, Destiny 1 map coming back next season. I guess I'll just say this. So we know Bungie's really been staffing up, not just on their unannounced projects, but on Destiny. And I have this wild conspiracy theory. If you want to take it, we're going to put the spin foil hats on. We haven't gone down here in a while.
Here we go.
We're going to put our spin foil theory hats on for a moment. I think the reason that we saw PvP updates stop is because it's kind of bare bones right now. I think almost the entire PvP team moved over to work on either Matter or on the arena shooter. if they're not one and the same. They could very well be one, and the Matter is just a code name, worth noting. We do not have explicit confirmation that that is a new IP. We all just kind of assumed.
Yeah.
I still personally believe it's a new IP, but I can't imagine doing 2 PvP-centric games right now.
Yeah.
For a company that has struggled with PvP for the better part of a decade.
I mean, if you do an arena shooter and a hero shooter, those are 2 different types of,
It is, but I think still, like, trying to do the support for those plus trying to do Crucible support is a little ridiculous.
Yeah. One of them's going to be dead in the water.
Yeah, piss or get off the pot, basically.
Yeah.
But my wild conspiracy theory is that they moved them all over there, and they put Chris Barrett in charge of the project because I think that he was, and I have no basis for any of this. Please do not aggregate this. Do not go, like, saying, like, oh, somebody from Tower Casual said this about you, Chris. That Chris Barrett, he's been at Bungie for over 20 years. The last thing that I'm aware that he was in charge of was Forsaken. I believe he was the expansion lead on it. Don't quote me on that. I believe he was. But that, to my knowledge, is the last major Destiny thing he worked on. I sort of have started having this thought: was he potentially looking at going elsewhere? Because he's, he has been the guy that he was one of the brains behind the Taken King. He's one of the guys that was behind Forsaken, behind Vanilla D1. This dude's been there since Halo 2, since before Halo 2 even. Like, he has been in the trenches for a very long time now. And I almost wonder if this was kind of like, hey, man, we're going to let you lead your own projects. Obviously, you don't want to lose a talent like that who's been a longtime Bungie employee.
Right.
And he was kind of like, well, I'd like to make another multiplayer game, but I'm going to need established guys to start building this team with. Even for incubation, you have to have guys building this. And if it's a PvP-centric game, if they have 2 of those in incubation, that would explain where your PvP people went.
Right.
So I don't think it's too wild of a theory to think that that's what happened, just like a lot of incubation. But at a certain point, it becomes piss or get off the pot.
Right.
And I'm not saying, like, you must go back to Crucible. No, it's you shouldn't have done that without being like, well, we'll bring in fresh blood to work on Crucible. Instead, it kind of feels like, and I think a lot of it was due to working remotely. And I do think working on PvP is a lot different than crafting story content. Yeah. In those ways, like, and trying to play test that and everything else in a remote environment. But with them saying they want to be a remote first studio, and really now having to be the leader of the PlayStation Vanguard on that front, you have to come up with some sort of solution. And letting PvP was just in such a bad state. Trials launched horribly right as we all went into lockdown. Mm-hmm. And that, I think, has really, like, fueled the PvP angst. And at this point, I don't even blame that community. I do think that some of the response has been absolutely ridiculous. That is a large reason why we're not getting communication from the devs anymore. Dylan explicitly confirmed that this week.
Yeah.
I do wonder, and I guess just kind of like wrapping the thoughts up on the showcase, I wonder if that's going to be addressed at some point, like at the top of the show. The insane amount of harassment that especially Dylan and Liana have been getting.
Yeah.
He's on leave from Bungie until September. He announced a couple weeks ago. I completely missed it. He will actually be on leave. He's not going to be writing TWABs. He will not be back fully until next season. And he said, he's had some health problems, and we've known this for a while, right? Mm-hmm. He's got some health problems. And he says, he's getting some help for some mental health issues too. And it's just like, man, you have to think that this is probably part of that, like getting that shit day in and day out. So I don't know, like I would expect that, like they're so community oriented as a studio. I would expect that between that and the Kevin Yanes harassment, I expect that to get addressed, like by an official channel at some point. And I think that a showcase is a good point to do that. You've had especially the lawsuit that we saw this week, right?
Right.
Against someone who was threatening them and Dylan in particular, and then saying he was going to burn Bungie HQ to the ground, like move to Seattle supposedly, and also has ban evaded 13 times and used cheating software. Like, holy shit. Talk about the walking definition of touch some fucking grass.
Right.
That's it. Like, this is a video game, dude. This is a fucking video game.
Yeah. People just, man, I don't know.
It's not just here. We've seen it with Sony Santa Monica. We've seen it with 343. We've seen it. There's just been such a rise in it, particularly over like the last 9 to 12 months, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like we know the internet is not exactly the best place to talk about things, but man, the last probably like you said, like the last 6 to 9 months has just been awful, man.
Yeah, it's been unspeakably bad.
Yeah.
And I cannot imagine what it is like to, those who are, obviously not straight white males.
Right.
If you come out and you're queer, you're non-binary, you're a person of color, you're a woman, God forbid you're any of those, right?
Yeah.
Like you're gonna go through some shit.
Right.
And that's not right. This is a game that I think the community has largely always prided itself on being so inclusive. We saw during the Me Too movement how this community really stepped up and chased a lot of the shitbags out of it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, well, there's always new shitheads to take the place of former shitheads. And that's where we are right now. And I'm hoping that some of these legal challenges start sinking in. And like, I think Bife had a really nuanced take on this. He was like, set aside, like, fuck this person and all that. But he's like, these guys have got to understand, like, I think this was like a 17, 18-year-old kid who was saying this shit. Like, you have to understand, that is going to follow you forever.
Mm-hmm.
Social media is forever. Employers will see that. You will never work in this industry. Like, that will get reported. Like, beyond just like, oh, you got banned from a game, there are legal consequences for talking like that.
Right.
Like, it doesn't matter where you are. Like, the police will get involved. Like, those are legitimate, credible threats.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you are going to ruin your life because you're mad about a video game. And it gets to a point where enough is enough. And I think that Bungie has finally hit that. And now I think with them having, we're going to, segue in just a second to our next topic, with them having the backing of Sony's resources now, I think it's going to make a lot of people hopefully think twice about what they do.
Yeah.
So,
or maybe it'll make it worse, especially.
It could. I didn't want to go down that route, but it very well could make it worse. I don't know. We see how console warriors act.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's so many people who are like, oh, Xbox isn't getting Lightfall because PlayStation's going to make it exclusive or whatever. Or like,
it's so stupid.
I know.
It's so stupid.
We're
going to address that anyways.
I'm like, are you just going to pay attention? Like, come on.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Think, McFly. Think. If I had to offer one final guess on what we'll see, I think we're going to see one non-Lightfall thing get revealed, or at least get announced in principle. I don't know if we'll see a teaser or anything, but I think they will explicitly confirm a Destiny project that is not a game. Is not Destiny 2, I'll put it that way.
You think they'll do
a Destiny project that is not Destiny 2.
You think they'll show off that mobile project that's supposedly working on?
Okay, I'm going to be in the extreme minority here. I do not believe the mobile project is a Destiny game.
Yeah. Well, I have not
believed that from the second it got announced. I have never believed that is an actual Destiny project.
Well, I thought that money was for a new IP when they got that.
That was my understanding of it as well, as it was for a new mobile IP, not connected to the Destiny universe. So I get really annoyed with these Destiny news aggregators on Twitter. I sit there and retweet them occasionally, but like Destiny Bolton and Destiny News, I really hate how those sites get verified, because it makes it look like this shit's coming from Bungie.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just inferring things, right? Yeah. Now, we had a really nice conversation because I wouldn't have noticed the job listing. I don't sit there and scour every listing every day of the week.
Right.
About the hero shooter. I really liked that we got to have that, and that was something we could sit there and read. I have never, and if there's evidence to the contrary, I'm really sorry that I haven't seen it, but I've never seen it myself, that this mobile game is tied to Destiny. I don't think it needs to be. I don't want it to be. I don't want Destiny Immortal. I don't want that. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think anybody wants that. And Bungie has to know the reputation of NetEase and know what they're getting themselves into. I cannot imagine they would say, let's sully the Destiny name and go into this. I have to imagine it's some new IP and they took it because they needed the funding at the time, knowing that they were about to go independent.
Hope it's a Zur Match 3 exotic puzzle game.
I'm not, dude. If they made a Destiny overlay for fucking Puzzle Quest 3, I would never play another mobile game. I swear to God, I would spend so much time playing that game, matching my exotics. It wouldn't even be funny. And I hope he talks. Oh, the Nine are pleased with that. Tentacle-faced fuck. So I guess to wrap up, my final thing I wanted to talk about, and this is going to lead into our next topic, is with the acquisition of Bungie becoming official with Sony last week, literally hours after we recorded episode 101, you have to expect that's going to be addressed also at the top of the show. Now that that's official, it will have been official for a month. You know, I don't expect anything like huge, like, oh, I don't think Herman Holst and Jim Ryan are going to be there or anything, but I expect them to address it. And just like, because they've already been active on Twitter, the Bungie account has been, a lot of the devs have been like, no, we are staying multi-platform. Mm-hmm. But I think that fans want to hear that physically from their mouths.
Yeah.
And I would say this as a word of, as we go into this topic, because this is the next thing I wanted to talk about. You know, Bungie's been kind of reassuring everyone over the last week, like, no, we're staying. Our games are going to be where our audience is, which is everywhere. When we first talked about this at the end of January in an emergency pod, talking about Sony buying Bungie, one of the main points that we kind of got at was it seems like a deal between them and Microsoft was all but done, but the sticking point was multi-platform games. Mm-hmm. And how we really believe that this acquisition was about, one, getting that Destiny revenue into Sony, but also getting the tools that Bungie has, because this is the only truly successful live service game that's not an MMO like World of Warcraft or like Elder Scrolls Online or something that we've really seen. Like, how does Bungie continue to keep a content cycle going, telling an ongoing story, and still maintain the same amount of players, if not adding to it? I mean, Witch Queen just had the highest number of pre-orders ever for a Destiny project. Mm-hmm. For an expansion. I should say for an expansion, not for a project, for an expansion. So they want it for all of those. A word of caution, I would say. I think anything with the word Destiny on it is safely multi-platform. A Minecraft situation, if you will. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I think Sony is smart enough to realize pigeonholing a FPS multiplayer game to just your console that is not called Halo is a mistake.
Yeah.
Even Halo's on PC, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, you could do it to PC and it would probably be very successful, but I think...
Well, even Microsoft almost put the Master Chief Collection on PlayStation 4, remember? Those conversations happened.
There were a lot. I mean, there's been... Nothing is out of the question these days, right? With the collaboration, with crossplay, and with Sony and Microsoft kind of coming to the realization, like, we got to kind of stick together because Amazon and Apple and Tencent are going to put us out of business otherwise. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the enemy of my enemy is my friend,
right?
Basically. And I think we're going to see that with the Discord integration that's coming to Xbox.
Yeah.
We know it's going to come to PlayStation at some point.
Right. Great move, by the way.
Very surprised that it did not come to PlayStation first.
I know. That was like the big thing is like PlayStation made this huge investment in Discord, right? And like had to announce a partnership or whatever. And then Xbox.
Microsoft was in final negotiations to buy Discord last year.
Right.
And it didn't happen.
Right.
So we don't know what happened there, but I think it's for the best. If it comes to PlayStation, that's for the best.
Right.
Which you have to imagine it's going to be. It's superior to the party chat on PlayStation by default if it goes there.
Right.
Like Xbox at least has decent party chat, but I'm going to love having Discord. It will make LFGing for things like Destiny and like Fortnite and Apex so much easier than ever before.
Right.
I don't sit at my desk with my computer to use Discord. I don't like hooking up my phone to have to use it. What is this, the Nintendo Switch?
Switch.
I had to get it in there. Sorry, Ed. I would say, though, like, I expect it to be a Minecraft thing. So, like, Minecraft Legends was shown at the Xbox Showcase. And immediately, the press release was like, it's coming to everything. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yep, that's how I expect future Destiny titles to be. Destiny is going to continue to be the multi-platform thing. The true test for me is, one, when we figure out what matter is. If it's a Destiny game, I think it's safely multi-platform. Two, if that third-person action adventure game that we've heard that's in incubation, if that comes to fruition, because it's worth noting, just because something went into incubation does not mean it is coming out.
Right.
Does not mean it will be released. But Bungie is committed to releasing one new IP before 2025. And we're kind of running out of time here to figure out what it is at this point.
2.5 years. Well, a year and a half, I guess.
And I mean, I know that's kind of wacky to say, a year and a half is like, oh, we're running out of time. But I mean,
do you know how long it takes to make a game?
The Sony acquisition likely bought them some time on that front.
Yeah.
I will say that. I pretty emphatically believe that, actually. It's a question of what it is. I think the safe assumption is, okay, it's Matter. Assuming it's Matter, it's a brand new IP, it's Chris Barrett's game. Watch it just be the NetEase game. I would laugh so hard. I would not stop laughing if all we got by 2025 was more Destiny and the NetEase. I mean, I'd be happy with that, but
yeah, I mean,
I think Bungie's ready to work on something new after 15 years.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I feel like Bungie is going to stand beside PlayStation in a way, like it's not going to be treated the same way their first party studios are. I feel like
Bungie, to their credit, has tried making this really clear. It's just, I wonder how that looks in like year 4 of this agreement versus minute 4 of the agreement.
Right.
Like, you can say all this now, but as we know, things can change on a dime. Joe said something to me really poignant the other day when this news came through, that it was officially confirmed, and he says, I would love to know what the opt-out clause looks like for both sides. Like, after how many years can the studio decide to go independent if they want to again? Because that's baked into these acquisitions these days.
Right.
Of this nature. Like, is there one baked in for Bethesda? Is there one baked in for Bungie? Like, because the Bungie agreement it's very unique in a way that I don't think the Activision one was, and that definitely these smaller studios have not been. Like, Sony and Bungie were both in that joint announcement, like, no, these things are all their stuff's gonna stay multi-platform, and that's so unique for an acquisition, to the point where I think that tipped the scales for Microsoft, saying we're gonna keep things that exist, like Call of Duty, and I would wager to say things like Crash Bandicoot, Diablo, etc., being multi-platform.
Yeah.
I think it's more about getting the revenue and having the IP under your umbrella if you want to do things with it, is what it's about.
Plus, I mean, like, Microsoft's big thing is like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be multi-platform, but you can play it on Game Pass. That's like that's going to be their thing.
So
right?
that raises the first of a couple questions I have for you. Do we think that we're going to see, because we know right now, like, for example, Sony does, or not Sony, God, I'm already saying it, Bungie does the Prime Gaming bundles for Destiny with Amazon. Those are scheduled to end, we know from the API, with Lightfall. It's going to end roughly around Lightfall. Does that agreement get renewed or not? That's my first question.
I mean, it either gets renewed or they're going to turn into PlayStation Plus bonus things.
That's what I think it's happening. I think it's going to be PS Plus perks. Or it'll just be available on both, like the Elder Scrolls Online Game Pass perk is. It's also on Prime Gaming this month.
Right. Yeah.
Why wouldn't you make it available both places? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
I would personally say I think it's going to become a PS Plus thing. Like, I wouldn't be shocked to see like some premium currency thrown in or some Bright Dust or something. They did it with Avengers, so it's not out of the question.
Yeah, that seems more likely. Plus, I think it's like a lot of the stuff that they put in that Prime Gaming stuff is old most of the time anyway. So like, I don't think
you only really get like a projection maybe that's new.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people would be mad over that. Of course, it is the internet.
I think in the era of transmog, if it was like special armor, we would get, because there's already people that are like, oh my god, it's going to happen. Like, again, I want to bring up those news aggregators. Like, I think it was Destiny Bolton said this last week. Within minutes of the acquisition closing, they said, what PlayStation IP would you like to see brought into Destiny?
I saw that BS article.
Fucking none.
God.
Fucking none.
Who, like, why would you even post that? Like, the Halo stuff was like pushing it.
The Halo stuff was pushing it. And this is the defense I had to that, because I had people saying like, well, what about like some God of War armor? And I was like, okay, first off, they're like, this isn't any different than the Halo armor. First off, Bungie worked on Halo, okay? Halo, like, Bungie is not Bungie without Halo.
And we didn't get Halo specific armor. We had nods to Halo on that armor.
You had nods to Halo on 2 sets of armor. You didn't have fucking anything on that Hunter set, and I will die on that hill.
Yeah.
You had a Warlock Bond, and you had Needle or Pauldrons.
Yeah.
And then you had Forerunner is the most overt nod, right? And like there's some lore that alludes to Master Chief, because of the temporal displacement and this and that created by Xur. That was a fun little nod.
Yeah.
To Bungie's history. There's a whole Marathon set of armor in there, guys. They didn't go put Gears of War in there or something.
Right.
They put fucking Marathon because it's part of Halo. The sword from Myths is in there. Like,
yeah.
What do you want us to do?
Yeah.
Like, these are nods to Bungie things. Like, the battle rifle is in there for a reason. The energy sword can't look like the energy sword legally.
Yeah, that's why it's split in half.
The battle rifle can't be called the battle rifle legally.
Yeah. Come on.
Like, that is why these things are in there under different names, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't want to come in and be like, oh, there's a themed event going on. There's Horizon Forbidden West inspired armor, or, there's a nod to Kratos, and this and that. You know what you save that stuff for? You save that for when you do your hero shooter or your arena shooter or whatever, and you do it as your little timed event and say, oh, Lord Shaxx was studying some things he found in the ruins of one of the old cities, and he found this this program that humans used to run in the Dark Ages, and he thought it might be good for a battle simulation for you.
Yeah.
And I would even hate that. I want to be really clear. I'd fucking hate that.
Or like he found like a shield with an axe embedded into it in the caves of the north or whatever, right? Like,
but it would have to be in something like that specifically, because I don't think Sony would ever go for something like the Leviathan Axe. I'm using that as the example because that's the one I saw the most being brought up. John and I kind of jested about it back and forth. He wasn't being dead serious about it. There were a lot of people who seem to think this will actually happen.
Yeah.
Like, oh, imagine the Leviathan Axe. I cannot imagine Sony letting that be in this game, knowing that it's on Xbox.
Yeah.
If it was just PlayStation and PC, yes, I think it was possible. Our friend Austin had a different take, and he says, what if there's stuff later on down the road that is their items or armor sets inspired by new Bungie IPs that are created under Sony? And I said, that makes sense to me. I would understand that.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that because those are in-house IP. That is in-house Bungie IP.
Well, didn't they say
they're completely different?
Didn't they say there's already something in the game that's teasing their next IP and nobody's found it yet?
Something like that. They always tease their games in advance, though. So, like, I'm not worried about that. Like, that's fine by me.
Yeah.
If you want to do that, because that's within the studio. You're not putting, like, a fucking Cole McGrath in this game. You're not putting Sweet Tooth in here as a
oh my god, a Sweet Tooth Halloween mask for Festival.
I will say Lost. The Halloween masks would be fucking hilarious. I would be okay with Halloween masks because you can't transmog them or anything like that. I would be tentatively okay with that. But that leads us to our first listener question tonight. I want to address this one while we're here. Jesus Galarado writes in, Jesus747. Do you think Lightfall is too far in development to be affected by the Sony money?
Yes.
Yup. That game is done and planned out. Legally, they had to proceed as if the acquisition would not go through.
Yeah.
They have to continue business as usual for their shareholders and for that final stock price.
I bet they're into the second or third
now,
season.
This week, having those conversations about the future.
Second or third season, right? I'm assuming that it's in development.
I would say that second season is definitely going to have Sony marks on it, and we'll address the event card after this when we get the Solstice, but I think that's kind of a harbinger of what's to come, unfortunately. I hope that with the Sony money, they can still make an adjustment like, oh, the Dungeon Pass was a horrible idea. We're not doing that again. Which you should be doing anyways, because that's a terrible idea.
You should definitely not do that again.
Maybe we get a state of the game when it's about to launch. They give us a VIDOC or something, and that's when they can really talk. That'll have been 7 months since the acquisition closed. By the time Lightfall's ready to come out,
right?
I think by then you can really start having those conversations. It's kind of the same thing with the Bethesda one. Deathloop came out about 5 months after that acquisition closed. Microsoft had nothing to do with Deathloop. That game actually got pushed back after the acquisition.
Right.
For another couple months because it wasn't ready for prime time again. Something like Ghostwire Tokyo, that was even a year out, and I don't think Microsoft had a whole lot to do with that one. Starfield, though, Redfall, that's got Microsoft's hands all over it.
Mm-hmm.
But if I will say this, like, the money may affect it, but if they continue to allow Bungie to have the autonomy that Bungie has promised us that they still have, and that they have seemingly assured them they will have, the only thing I think you will see is there will be a bigger budget for expanding the universe. I don't think the game actually changes much in terms of its budget.
Yeah.
Maybe they say you can hire 20 more PvP engineers.
I think the Sony money actually is going to go towards what they do outside of the game.
Yes.
Right, like that's the multimedia, transmedia
I think that
stuff.
And the new IPs is where the Sony money is going. New IP, new ideas, things like that. And that's why I think at the showcase you're probably going to get, and this has nothing to do with Sony. I think that's why if they announce something, it'll be like, oh, we're doing a graphic novel, or we're going to do an original prose novel, or something like that. Like something small. Maybe you announce that you have some showrunners and writers in place for an animated series.
Yeah.
Because they were actively looking for that before this acquisition.
Yeah, haven't they hired a bunch of people? Like they hired the someone from the Arcane series, right, on Netflix.
The showrunner of Arcane, I believe.
Yeah.
So the head of Arcane, they've hired away one of the main people at Netflix who greenlit Arcane and Witcher and things like that.
Yeah.
I have full faith. Honestly, that's what makes me most excited for this being underneath the Sony brand. One, they're going to get the respect that PlayStation Studios get. They're going to have the funding that PlayStation Studios get. And 3, they're going to have access to all those resources. So it's a kind of a you scratch my back, we'll scratch yours. The question is, how far does that back scratching go? Like, are they really going to be cool with like multiplayer games? Sure, they'll let that go anywhere. They're going to make the money off that. The microtransactions, skins, heroes for a hero shooter, they'll make all that money. Do you extend that out to if they do a single player only game? And my suggestion is no.
Yeah.
If it does not say Destiny on it, I do not expect it to be multi-platform at all. And that's honestly, in my unpopular opinion, is how it should be.
I mean, I agree. I kind of agree with you. You know, Sony buys them.
I have said that I think that like something like Redfall should be on PlayStation and not just on Xbox. If it's a multiplayer game, why not? Go get those sales numbers up. People are still going to play it on Game Pass anyways.
Yeah. Especially a game like Redfall, which A, didn't really show all that great, and B, requires a community that's going to play together, right? That should definitely be, you know.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a tricky situation, like, because I look at something like, you know, because I think it's a slippery slope. People can go like, well, what about Elder Scrolls? What about Fallout? You know, you don't want those to be. Those are a little bit different than Destiny, I think. Those have sold, you know, like 30, 40 million copies in their lifetimes. I think it's a little bit different, but like something like Destiny that, you know, sells 1 million expansions up front. Cool. Sony's going to be like, awesome. Why alien? And literally, Herman Hulst basically said this. Why alienate that player base?
Right.
Like, we're in an unprecedented era of gaming that we're going into, like a new golden age, really. And
we know Jim Ryan's all about making money, right? Like, I mean, Jim
Ryan wants to make a quick buck. He's not going to say no to that Microsoft money.
I mean, look how fast they started migrating their games to PC, right? Like, it's like the time span between PlayStation to PC release is.
I will say shorter. Bungie will likely be the first Sony studio that does day and date releases.
Yeah.
On PC. And that's fine. I think that's how it should be. A studio that's been third party, not traditionally third party, but it's been third party for the last 12 years.
Yeah. Should
be like that. That has an established community on PC now.
Right. Yeah.
So the long and short of it, no. I think definitely by this time next year, you'll see influences of the Sony money for better or worse.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think all eyes are going to be, again, better or worse, are going to be on Eververse going into Lightfall. Because Eververse is one of the few things they can still reverse track on leading into Lightfall. And they can either revamp Eververse and make it the best it's ever been, or it's going to be an absolute hellscape and people are going to rightfully complain like crazy. There's really no in between. Like, keeping it the way it is not the solution.
Right.
We've already said it. There's way too many cosmetics and the Bright Ingrams suck. I'm so tired of getting Sparrows from Curse of Osiris and Vanilla D2. It's not even a meme anymore. They're not even new. I'm getting stuff I've already gotten. If there was a true knockout system, I would never get anything but exotics.
Yeah.
So, a little annoyed there. That's a topic for another day, though.
I wish just the Bright Engram stuff, I wish it would just give you Bright Dust at this point.
Yeah, make it Bright Dust. Give me, I mean, I'm not saying update the item shop every day a la Fortnite, but I mean, give me more options for my Bright Dust. I have 105,000 Bright Dust, dude. I don't spend it because there's nothing I want. Like, I don't care about most of the cosmetics. If I see something I want, I get it.
Right.
I don't know. It's all very frustrating. Offer up all the old armor sets for, I don't know. I could spend a whole night on Eververse. So I think there's Eververse changes coming. So I want to hold off on that for just a week or two.
Yeah.
I'm going to give them time. Here. Well, while we're talking about in-game monetization, let's shift over to Solstice real quick, Corey.
Solstice? Oh, boy. I've been waiting this whole show to talk about Solstice, Josh. You have no idea.
I want to be really clear here. I don't hate the activity this year.
Oh, what?
I think Bonfire Bash is a fucking blast.
Do you? Oh, man, I'm going to check it out then.
Listen, it's not saying much, but I think it's significantly better than past Solstice events. Like, there's no more hunting for fucking chests in the EAZ.
Oh, man.
It's just kill mini bosses, throw orbs across the map at this giant bonfire. Once you do 20 of them or you time out, a big primeval style boss comes, which is really easy to kill. Like, we were doing it with blueberries the other night, and we were regularly we were beating the timer with like 2 minutes left on it. It's like an 8-minute timer to start out with. I don't think it's bad at all. The more you throw and the bigger the fire gets, the more rewards you get, which is nice. I just shard it all anyways, but I think that loop with the armor upgrades, I think being able to pick your stats is really nice. And if you have the ghost mod, you get to do it even better. But the actual gameplay loop is really frustrating. Like, we've said for a while, like, oh, why not just reward us for playing? And it's like a no-win scenario, right? Like, give us rewards for doing things we already do. Well, you do that. Okay, well, I also want rewards from, playing the activity. I want reasons to grind the activity. And it's like, well, you guys get mad when you have to grind the activity, though. Like, which one is it? Which one is it at this point? Mm-hmm. And I will say I think the seal is insanely easy to do. I have 2/3 of it knocked out, and I played one night of it. Granted, I played for like 3 or 4 hours, but I just kind of did it hanging out with a friend, and we were just chatting. We weren't cheesing anything. We were just chatting, running strikes, doing the things that it asked you to do. And of course, we, stockpiled and did all the easy ones. The biggest complaint, I think, for me is there's 3 different currencies. And it's very confusing to know how you get some of those currencies. So, and another thing I saw was like, one of the objectives is complete Sever missions or Altars of Sorrow waves. And it's like, if only there was a public event tied to this season that we could be doing instead of Altars of Sorrow. And just like how inconsistently like progress is rewarded based on certain activities, et cetera, et cetera. I don't hate the actual activity. I think Bonfire Bash is actually pretty fun. It's just we're also jaded from years of horrible Solstice activities in the same space.
Right.
But it's never been easier to get around out there. All the bosses are relatively close, with the exception of like the Taken ones, which spawn in the 4 corners of the area. Those are the only time you ever have to go out there, and there's Cabal cannons to shoot you right back to the main middle. I think all that's fun. I do miss having the Arc Void and Solar days, though, where everything was like supercharged.
Yeah. I
kind of wish that was part of it. But other than that, man, like I don't have a whole lot to complain about in the actual activity. Now, the fucking store, I got a bone to pick here. That event card sucks. That's a horrible idea. I was gung-ho for this when they first announced it a couple months ago, and I was like, man, I'm actually kind of stoked for this. I like what they're talking about. Those emotes suck. The emotes suck. You get 2 emotes, a shader, a transmat effect, a ship, and a ghost projection. I don't care about any of that except for obviously the emotes and the shader, and they're looking at it going, oh, this is a great deal. I want to know who in their right mind is, and I know I said I was going to do it. When I got to see that emote, I was like, who the fuck is spending $10 for a hot dog eating emote? Mm-hmm. Who's actually going to buy that? Like, I can't believe I'm going to say these words. I have standards after playing Fortnite now in terms of emotes. Mm-hmm. And it's more fun, and I'd rather spend money on those in that game right now instead of an emote in Destiny. And that's the sad point that we're at. Like, I think it looks bad. Maybe putting a set of armor in there would have made it a little bit like maybe if you buy the event card, you get the glowing you get the armor glows for free with it or something.
Right.
I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that this is likely going to be the only way to get that shader. I don't even think the shader is like incredible, but when they say things may show up in the future, I would say you probably have a better chance of the shader showing up next year than you do either of the emotes.
Right.
I really just hope that they're taking this feedback to heart, because I am far from the only person complaining about this. I think this is fucking bullshit. I have not seen a single person say this is a good idea. Once they finally saw it in action, I've not seen a single person go, hey, I actually really like this. No, we're all like, man, this sucks.
Right.
This is bad. And they should feel bad. And my fear is Sony's going to see this, and this is something that any hack with an associates in marketing could come up with, okay? Because it's a shameless money grab. But I think that Sony's going to look at this and go, yes, we like that. It's more money, even if only 50,000 people buy it. Yeah. That is $500,000 right there.
Yep. Right
there. That cost maybe like 3 days of effort to make. Mm-hmm. Do it. Yeah, that's what I imagine Jim Ryan being like fucking Darth Sidious right now. Wipe them out. All of them. That's how I imagine this is going, okay?
I like to imagine he has like a Palpatine like costume just in his back closet and he just pulls it up.
Yeah, he bought it on clearance from Phil Harrison and Don Matrick.
Oh, God.
They traded in their clothes to Jim Ryan. We all know that Sean Layden didn't have one of those. Sean Layden was Mace Windu in this instance.
Have you heard the tragedy of Don Matrick the Wise?
It's not a story that Xbox would tell you.
How do I learn this power? Not from Xbox.
Is it possible to learn this monetization power? Not from Phil Spencer. I say this, but, Microsoft's had some egregious microtransactions lately in Halo.
Yeah, but let's be fair.
All joking aside, like, I actually, like, I really hate that this came out, like, 3 days after the acquisition was official, because we already knew this was coming. And there were a lot of people, to their credit. I was one of the very few that was like, man, I actually kind of like this idea. Nope. Scrap it. Don't ever do it again. This is a terrible fucking idea. Can it for Festival of the Lost, man. There are 5 events you plan on doing a year now, because we did find out the Revelry is coming back.
Yay.
It's like kind of it's like in the API files or something. Like, it's supposedly coming back. I want to say supposedly because I don't want to set any expectations. But I could see that being the event that like ends an expansion year now.
Uh-huh.
Like, supercharge everyone for 2 weeks to go into the next thing before we all get super depressed from the campaign.
Right.
Yeah, let us go have fun and throw flowers around with each other and shit, because Crimson Days is never coming back. It sucked.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to play PvP for a Valentine's event. Sorry, guys. It was a great idea, but poor execution, and you never bothered to iterate on it.
But I want my chocolate ghost.
My God.
My heart emote where I make one half.
Event cards have got to leave. This is egregious. On top of paying for an expansion, on top of paying for a season pass, which I want to be very clear, I'm okay with both of those things. I'm totally cool with that. Revamping the season pass is another thing. I want to get to after we see what's coming in the future, because I have to think they're going to address the seasonal model soon. because that's getting really stale. And Johnny and I were having a good conversation about the season pass today. Like, we're not complaining about the value necessarily, because, like, for instance, the armor that's in there the Reaper armor, I would have paid $15 for that. I would have dropped it so fast.
Yeah.
I feel like I get my value right there usually in terms of the armor ornaments. Like, I was already going to probably buy this.
Yeah.
And it's just a question of, well, like, the emotes usually suck. The ship usually sucks. I don't care about the Sparrow. What am I really getting out? What am I really enjoying out of this? Like, most of this is, like, upgrade materials.
Yeah.
I care about my Bright Dust, which, to be fair, like, 12,000 Bright Dust is awesome to get out of this. I'm very happy about that. I would like to see that number up to, like, 15 or 16, but you'd have to offer more for Bright Dust for that to matter.
Yeah.
I'd like to see something like that. I don't know what other ideas we really had. We didn't get a chance to talk about it too much, but it was just like, it's time. Like, that's usually all we care about is the armor ornaments. Where we get there and then we don't really care about anything else that we got. Like, I get a couple shaders, and to my credit, like, I've enjoyed the shaders.
Mm-hmm.
But we used to get like a couple legendary ornaments. We get an exotic ornament, but I usually don't care about the exotic that was in the pass. I think the last one I really loved that was in the pass was, and I loved the ornament for, was Witherhoard.
Yeah.
Like, I struggle to think of one I've really, like, a combo that I've loved in the last year and a half. Like, Tiku's was an awesome exotic. I didn't really care about the ornament, though.
Right.
What's
the exotic this season? It's Trespasser, right?
It's Trespasser. I like the Trespasser one. It's just like you can't really see the ornament on a sidearm.
Yeah.
Like, okay, cool. It's themed to the Reaper armor. That's cool. Like, whatever. We couldn't even get a new exotic. We had to do a re-release of a Destiny 1 exotic here. That's how down bad we are right now. I do think that at some point the Reaper armor was probably intended to be part of the duality dungeon.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it's not. Like, why the Hake armor is in there, I could not tell you. I don't think it's a bad choice, but it's just like, why is this in here? I guess they knew they couldn't afford that, or they couldn't do that. They needed to do a couple of others.
Yeah, I like that the Hake armor set that's there, but it's definitely not a dungeon set.
No, it's very similar to me. What they did with Prophecy initially was the Dido set was supposed to be part of Prophecy, or was supposed to be in the Eververse. They moved it to Prophecy because we were like, we're tired of paying for shit in Eververse. I would have loved to have seen the Void, Solar, and the Inevitable Arc set, obviously, which makes me think there's a Stasis set coming to round out the set at the end of the year.
Yeah.
Especially
if that storyline in that fourth season is kind of leading into Lightfall, and they're kind of teasing that next Darkness subclass. Like, that would make sense that Stasis would be like,
as much as I've liked the Void and the Solar armors, and I'm sure that the Arc stuff is going to look really cool with lightning coursing around it, it feels kind of cheap. And I feel like maybe, and this is me sounding a little bit greedy as a player, and I get that the resources probably aren't there. I would have loved to have earned that armor from, like, reaching milestones with my subclass this season. We got a Bungie rewards emblem for doing, like, if you got, like, 7,000 solar ignition kills this season. Why not let me earn some armor in game? Give me a list of them. Give me a quest line. Like, Fortnite gives me quest lines all the time. I don't want to keep comparing things to Fortnite, but give me a quest line like that with my arc or my solar powers, and, like, okay, you got to do these objectives in, like, all these different game modes, and then you'll get a helmet, you'll get arms, you'll get a chest piece, you'll get a cape. But it's like, it's there forever. Like, it doesn't go away. You can do it whenever you want to do it. I think that would be something that would be really special and really cool. Like, or like, it's a bonus. If you bought the season pass, great. You get this quest line with this free elemental armor to go along with it for doing it. Like, that would be cool to me. Like, why are you charging me? I get why you're charging me, because I'm going to pay the money. But I think that, like, something like that, or like the Hake set, should have been earnable.
Yeah.
Somewhere other than a dungeon.
Yeah. No, I agree.
The Hake set is not for the dungeon, but I don't want to be like, oh, well, the Arc and Solar armors and things like that should be in the past, because that would make me just as mad.
Right.
What does the Reaper armor have to do with the armor that I'm earning in the past, the normal armor? usually the ornaments are a souped up version of what you get in the pass.
Mm-hmm.
What does this have to do with like Eris themed armor? It has nothing to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a bigger conversation, I think, about like resources and monetization and whatnot that we need to get to eventually. But I don't know. It's really grinding my gears how lazy some of the stuff feels in the store. And I think like the event card and like just really a lot of the cosmetics for this summer event are like just nailing it home for me. I've never liked the Solstice cosmetics, and I'm getting even madder now. But I'm also mad knowing that I'm going to buy the fucking go-kart ghost when it comes up for Bright Dust in like a week or two. I'm 100% going to get that. Like I think the Goofy Sparrows and the Goofy Ghosts are hands down the best part of the summer events.
Oh yeah, that's
I
hands
like
down.
those. Those are fun, and that's great. Like I'm okay with like buying that stuff because it's goofy.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that. I would just like to earn some basic items in game and not have to buy it all.
Yeah.
Like, why can I not earn the stuff that's in the event card? I think that's my question. Like, let me earn this stuff. You know, let me earn it based on the triumphs. And like, you get the exotic if you get the exotic emote if you finish the seal, which is not that hard to do, by the way. It's a very easy seal with like 4 weeks in the event.
Mm-hmm.
I see nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on Solstice or on the event card or anything? We can hold the rest of the Solstice thoughts till next week when you get a chance to play it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a lot more to say. I'm glad to hear that the bonfire stuff is cooler than the normal stuff. I hate the Titan armor, but I mean, we can talk about it a little bit next week too.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to see the glows on the whole hunter set like up close before I make a judgment call. But right now, like, I really love that cloak, but I hate the fucking horn on top. It's so dumb. Quit giving me pointy hoods. I'm supposed to be hidden. I'm gonna crouch behind a rock, and that's gonna stick out like, I don't know, like a glowing dildo or something. Like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, the witness sees me. Guess I better start shooting. Come on, man. It's ridiculous. We have a TWAB, though, Corey. We have a TWAB this week.
Yeah, the TWAB, guys. TWAB.
The TWAB. There's not a whole lot in there because we kind of like blew through almost all of it between Solstice and the showcase announcement. But there is something in here I wanted to note because it's been a sore point that I've complained about a few times since it got introduced. But Banshee is getting an update. It's not amazing, but it's at least baby steps.
Yeah.
Josh Kolinsky is here. He is the economy feature lead. So that if you are upset about something, I guess that would be the guy to talk to. Except please do not go find him on Twitter.
Don't.
Yeah,
don't.
Please don't. But actually, please like direct your comments to like the main Destiny feed or like go complain about it on Reddit like the rest of us. That place is already toxic enough. You can just add to it. He says so they've been monitoring it over the last 2 seasons. It's been something we've complained about literally, I think, since like day 1 of Witch Queen. Starting in season 18, which August 23rd, completing daily gunsmith bounties will now grant you 50 gunsmith rep each, up from 25, for a total of 200 gunsmith rep each day if you play. Because of that, you're going to want to make sure to drop by and give the old XO your hellos when hanging out in the tower. Secondly, and more impactfully for players, gunsmith rep gained from dismantling legendary or exotic weapons and armor will be increased to 5 each, up from 3. This will offer a considerable boost to the rate at which gunsmith rep can be earned. Overall, we want engaged players to be able to reset Banshee 44's rep at least once per season. And though these changes coming in Season 18 will allow players to rank up with the XO more efficiently, we're going to continue to monitor and evaluate progression over the course of the coming seasons. We hope these changes make the gunsmith rep system feel more rewarding in Season 18. I think that this is a good start, but overall, man, just the amount of grind you have to do for that, because even doing it passively, like, it's still rough.
Yeah.
I don't think this is going to affect it that much.
No, I don't think
it'll help, but it's not going to do that much. Like, I play a lot of Destiny, and I did not reset him during the first season. I'm definitely not going to do it this season.
Yeah.
Because the grind from Mythic to Legend is so bad.
Yeah.
It's so bad. Like, all 3 of the Mythic tiers are off, because you realize when you get the Mythic, usually it's like, oh my god, I'm only halfway through this rep grind. This is terrible. Double Gunsmith rep weeks. When? I guess they're hidden away at the same place that Double Dares of Eternity rep is.
Oh God.
But this is bad. This is bad. There's nothing to really work towards. Like, notice how the others have shaders, and I'm not saying I would love a shader, a Banshee shader every season, because you'd earn that so quickly. It's level 7. Everyone gets to level 7. Come on.
Yeah.
Like, but I think like giving out like a god roll of a specific weapon would be awesome.
Yeah.
Or like, I don't want there to be another ornament for the weapons, but maybe there's an exotic ornament that's part of his inventory that you can earn, or like it's an ornament for one of the legendary weapons that you can craft that season or something. I don't know. Maybe every rank up that you get with him, you get a guaranteed red border. It's a guaranteed craftable red border. I should rephrase that.
Mm-hmm.
Not just like, here's a red border funnel web for the 15th time.
Right.
So
how many funnel webs have you gotten this season, Josh?
Dude, like too many to count. Sorry, funnel web. Dude, you're old news. Friendship with funnel web ended. Friendship with Unforgiven and Meta Multi-Tool is going great. Can you roll incandescent? I didn't think so. I'm at the point where you maybe I don't know, maybe you put a catalyst in there and you can earn it a season early by earning it from Banshee, and it'll be thrown into the whirlpool the next season. I don't know, do some incentives, because a crafting golf ball is not going to do it for me.
Yeah.
Not when you've been so generous with them during the Leviathan activity, let me tell you. I've got 8 of those suckers sitting in my Postmaster, and I'm full in my inventory. And I've crafted 3 weapons this season so far, 1 with updated perks, and I'm still full up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we were complaining they weren't dropping. Bungie listened to us. They definitely gave it to us by us playing the seasonal activity. This is a good start, but y'all are going to have to take another... spoiler alert, Josh, my guy, you're going to have to take another pass at this.
Mm-hmm.
This is rough.
It needs to be at least
real
double.
Bad times for Banshee in the tower.
I feel like it needs to be at least double this, at the very least.
I think I don't know if I'd go double. I would say another 50% on top. Like, I think dismantling an exotic should give you at least 10 rep, if not way more. Because how often are you really sharding an exotic?
Yeah.
Exotic should grant way more, and it should be able to detect if you pulled it out of collections or not, right? Yeah. It has to be an organic drop. And I'm armchair developing. I don't know how hard any of this is. Legendaries, I feel, should dismantle at 7 or 8.
Yeah.
Rep. Especially if you want engaged players to be able to reset. I think that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's fair. Gambit is already enough of a slog. Please don't make this a slog too. I want to look forward to going to Banshee, but Saints rep is real rough if you're just losing. Now, if you can get to 20 matches won, or 20 rounds won, not 20 matches, 20 rounds won, and then just lose your way the rest of the weekend, yeah, you'll get a lot of XP, but man, it's just brutal to level some of these guys up.
Yeah.
Look how bad the Iron Banner rep is until you start getting those dailies rolling.
God. Iron Banner.
I see myself ever resetting my Iron Banner rank again if it's only going to be for 2 weeks a season.
Right.
You better move that shader off of page 2. That's all I'm going to say. That shader better be on page 1 at rank 7 like all the other vendors. I best see that move happen next season, Bungie. I don't want to get to rank 16 for a second time just to get a goddamn shader.
Ugh.
So I got bones to pick with y'all. I got real big bones to pick. You could also solve the rewards problem by, giving me player housing and giving me, swag to put up in there. I don't know. I digress.
Good job, Josh.
Corey, that's all we have for the Schwab today, because we already talked about everything else.
Yeah.
You want to do some questions?
Yeah, let's do some questions. We got a lot.
We have a lot. We already addressed one of them. We're gonna read the other questions. So I want to read Joasis's because I really like this one. If your Guardian got to create your own signature armor piece, what would its perk be? Mine would be Warlock Gauntlets that allow you to have 2 grenades of different types, such as having a solar and a fusion grenade.
Ooh. So I thought about this, Josh. I thought about this. And so the one thing that Destiny doesn't have, it has like especially Titans, like Titans have the barricade, Titans have the bubble, Titans have the Sentinel shield, you know, they have all kinds of things to protect. But they don't have nobody has like a mobile protection type thing, right? So what I was thinking is I don't know if this would be a helmet or a gauntlet, some sort of gauntlet or something. I think it would be some sort of gauntlet, but you would be able to throw it up like what's his face in Overwatch, and walk around with a barricade. And
okay.
And I kind of like that idea that you would be able to move and protect your team while you're moving instead of just hiding in one spot. Because that's been my biggest kind of, not complaint, but just like something I've noticed over the years, especially playing a Bubble Titan a lot, is like, yeah, you have a lot of options to protect your team, but there's no mobile way to protect your team. And I think that would be really cool to do.
So I think for mine, I would want an exotic either helmet or arms that would allow me to turn my golden gun into a golden sniper. To make it more lethal at long range, because I'm sorry, like, yes, hunters have golden gun. Yes, you can get long range kills with it, but you have to be really fucking good with golden gun to get those long range kills. Everything else, basic, with the exception of shards, requires me to get right up in your face. In PvP, especially. I would love a golden sniper, like, just imagine, like, you activate golden gun, but instead of, like, whipping the gun out and spinning it, you reach behind you and you just pull out a big fucking sniper and it's already loaded. You pull it out and you immediately go into the zoom with it. Yeah. I think that would be really cool. And I think that would solve the problem of, okay, we want a long-range super for PvP. Now, it would completely destroy PvP. I want to be really clear. Like, this is something that would hypothetically never, ever happen. It would ruin PvP. It would be banned immediately. Whatever. But I would love to see that because it would be useful in both PvP and PvE. It would basically be Celestial Nighthawk, but longer range. It would have to be a one-shot super, but I would love for it to be an incandescent sniper, so like when it hits somebody, it can spread the scorch to all nearby allies in like a 15-foot radius or something. But on top of that, I think it would be cool if, like, if you get a precision hit, or precision hit, precision kill, whatever, it makes your entire team radiant for 10 seconds. I think it could play really cool into Arc 3 or into Solar 3.0. Beyond that, I don't really know. Like, I think hunters are actually a really good spot exotics wise. I'm kind of running out of ideas. That's why I let Bungie come up with it all.
Bungie, my idea is free, by
everything
the way.
that we get gets nerfed into the ground, so I'm a little afraid to suggest anything right now.
Bungie, my idea is free, by the way. Mobile barrier.
Yeah, no, that's great. You guys should absolutely do that. I would love for it to be like a little Cabal shield that you run around with.
Yeah, or like you could even take it could even be like a something you could add to the Sentinel Titan shield thing, right? Where like an aspect, and like if you like run around with it and you put it up to hold, it like widens out like the Cabal ones, right?
Yeah.
Cool. I want one.
I could see that. I could see that. I think like dealing a lot of shots outside would be great. But getting inside, if you were to shoot the generator, would automatically kill it. I think that would be cool. That would help balance it in PvP, especially. Like, it would be one of those things where you would have to balance it so heavily to be very useful in PvE, but it would have to be next to useless in PvP for balancing reasons. So, Joe, thanks for the question. I really like that one. Our next question is from RushJet. What is the best Jotun ornament? I believe there are only 2. three really if you count the default look. There's that. There's the opulent looking one that we got in Shadowkeep, and then there is the one that makes it like look kind of more yellowish. I don't really know how to describe it, but it makes it look like, I don't know, just a color variation of the original. I gotta go with the original, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think the original looks the best, in my opinion.
I struggle to think of anything that looks like better for it. Maybe if they had done a special ornament with my toaster, like they did with the Gallarhorn one, I would say that. Mm-hmm. But I can't think of anything else, unless I'm just completely misremembering one of these. I also would like to note that I still use my Jotun Sparrow on the regular. That has my honorable mention.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair though.
Yeah, there's nothing else that I'd really be like, yeah, this is awesome. I think both the ornaments are underwhelming for me. The default look is still awesome. It's still great. It's a classic. It never goes out of style. There is a really cool art piece. I'm looking at it right now. I just Googled to make sure I wasn't forgetting an ornament. But it's a Trials of the Nine themed ornament for Jotun, and it looks amazing. I would love to see that.
Cool.
So, but yeah, you have it from the Jotun Toten. Host of the show. Toten. The OG, man. You can't go wrong with it. It's always about the classics. Always.
You know, if you ever use that Jotun toaster, I can call you the Jotun Toastin.
It's true. That's true. And then we have to get to our final question, because we unfortunately forgot to read Andre's question last week on the show.
Sorry,
Andre has now sent this in twice. Favorite exotic ghost shell and why? Corey, you already have an answer prime for this.
I do. Did you not see the animated GIF I replied to this question?
I did. That's why I'm saying you have an answer for this.
It's the Spelunker shell, the Indiana Jones shell. Come on, guys. Come on. I also like the Bash Kit shell for some reason. It's just so stupid looking.
Yeah, I think that's a cool one.
There's a lot of cool shells though. I mean, like, you think of the ones for like Guardian games, like the beach ball or the tennis ball or the water bottle, or like some of the dumb ones for the events, like like I mentioned earlier, the chocolate ghost, or like, you know, the haunted ones. Like, there's so many cool ghosts, man.
Yeah, there's an awful lot of them. I mean, I keep like 7 ghosts in my inventory at all times because I like to switch between them a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find where my ghosts are, actually. Jesus. I guess I can't view them in the app. Oh, there it is. So the one I have on right now is I earned the Trials of Osiris ghost from last year that they put in, and I haven't taken it off yet. The In Memoriam shell. I really, really love that shell. Other ones that I keep in my inventory regularly are the Indiana Jones one, of course. Mm-hmm. The inflatable shark ghost from last year's Solstice. Mm-hmm. I have been requested to please turn that off for the Lightfall cutscenes because we couldn't take them seriously. I was laughing too hard watching that on my screen. Thankfully, everybody gets to see their own ghost, but I'm sitting there watching and like the Savathun death scene, and there's a fucking inflatable shark flying around. The one that I like to have equipped for those types of missions are the Harpy shell.
Yeah.
I really like that, and I like the Spiky Servitor because it makes me feel like I have like a little buddy that's like shooting pew pew at them. Mm-hmm. I like those. It just makes me feel better knowing that that's on my shoulder, voiced by Nolan North.
Mm-hmm. I also like the I call it the Top Gun shell, but it's the aviator one with like the old timey plane helmet on. I use that for my Crucible shell.
I almost bought the one of the ghost sitting in the boat with the captain's hat. That's up this season.
It's cool though. It's so cool.
I almost got that, and I was like, "This is so ridiculous." I like that. I like the donut shell for this year's Solstice too.
Yeah.
But I'm tired of getting ghost shells. I can't enjoy them all. It's getting to that point.
I know.
That's why I've like really soured on emotes too. I only have 4 emote slots. Bungie, it's time for an emote wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. Why don't we have an emote wheel? That makes so much sense.
I mean, you can blame it on PS4 and Xbox One, and we won't take it personally. Just come up with something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Immediately realizes that you can have an emote wheel on Fortnite on last gen also.
Blame it on the 360. We don't care. Blame it on Reach.
Blame it on the Atari 2600.
Yeah. I don't care what you do. Blame it on something.
I wanted to read some Solstice lore tonight to close us out.
Are we heading the lore corner?
We're heading the lore corner.
Lore corner.
Little bit from Solstice. There's nothing like super duper like important to read here as far as I'm concerned. But I do like some of the lore that we have here. There's some stuff with Ada. There's some stuff with Saint. There's a little poem that's here. And then there's things that a lot of our friends in the tower have to say. So I want to read 2 of these pieces tonight. Not going super deep in lore corner this week. Nothing of massive consequence. We'll get back to finishing up story lore next week. But while Solstice is going on, I wanted to read these. Some thoughts that our fellow guardians in the tower and allies have about the Solstice. Amanda Holiday Solstice Roundup. See what the defenders of the last city think about the new festivities. This comes from the boots, by the way. The Candescent boots. Vanguard Commander Zavala. Each of us has faced and overcome so much. Sometimes that can feel like a sacrifice or a price. But it's a lesson to remember and learn. I'd like Guardians to keep that in mind as we celebrate Solstice. What we come to do is only possible because of what we've done, both the good and the bad. I promised I would read things in voices at one point, so
you did.
I don't know
if they
how
ever
to
need to replace Lance Reddick, you might be the 200th or 300th person they call.
I think I'll be further down on the list. I will definitely be behind Nolan North. Vanguard Ikora Ray. Meditation is an important part of understanding not just the light, but ourselves. We rise and avoid and seek meaning. The bonfire is a wonderful metaphor for that process. Amanda outdid herself helping with Solstice. Even I don't know how she managed all of this. Saint 14. A big fire to lay rest to everything that we hold in our hearts. Yes, I could use this now. Celebration, explosions, revelry. Isn't it wonderful? I might cry. Mithrax, Kell of House Light. Guardian celebrations perplex and mystify. But I can't do a Mithrax voice. But new beginnings are worthy of what Saint calls partying. House Light is grateful for inclusion in this occasion and offers forth many combustible baubles to the sacrificial flame. Lord Saladin, Valis to Empress Keitel. Once I can see this bonfire from Keitel's flagship, I'll be happy. Empress Keitel of the Cabal Empire. What is the ordinance limitation on these bonfire contributions?
Wow, you sound
Perhaps
just like
the
Keitel, by the
Cabal
way.
can assist in creating a larger fire.
My God, you sound just like her.
If I ever need to replace Keitel, that's good to know. I'll support Anna Bray. I'll support anything Amanda does. Quite a show. I'm always a fan of something fancy with a little attitude. Lord Shax. I'd like to imagine the ignition cores are grenades! That does put a smile on my face. God. And Eris Morn. The what? Nobody told Eris about Solstice, apparently.
Apparently not.
And then the last one we're going to read is we're going to read the class item. We're going to read from the Candescent Cloak, Bond, Bath Towel, whatever you want to call it. Saint 14 stands in place of the Sergeant of Arms amid a host of new lights. Most have been resurrected near the city walls. He needed the distraction, the work, but most of all, he needed to be somewhere he could help.
Whispers fly between them regarding the legend that addresses them and the strange chicken that struts figure eights around his legs. This area is reserved for lights without combat training who wish to take part in Solstice. Let's get you to speed. He picks up an old-looking weapon. This is standard Kostov rifle. Some of you are familiar with this weapon, Saint says. For those who aren't familiar, it's very simple. He quickly runs through a few exercises. How to reload quickly, adjust the sights, clear a jam. At the range targets, he demonstrates how to weave light between bursts of gunfire. Each time a metallic ping rings out as he strikes a target, and each time a chicken cluck response echoes beside him. Calm and discipline is key. Steady support of your rifle will keep it under control. Steady pressure on trigger will keep you from pulling off target. Breathe, squeeze, and shoot. Bark! Yes, now it is your turn, New Lights. The group steps forward and focuses on their targets. Several of the trainees' shots miss, but a guardian in green lands each bullet and cheers. Bark! The New Light looks at the chicken now standing beside them, then to Saint 14, who is also focused on the chicken. Then there's a moment of hesitation before Saint says, good, run it again. I did it perfectly, the New Light complains flaccidly. Saint steps forward and puts a hand on their shoulder. Perfection doesn't guarantee success. Perfection is subjective, New Light. That is why we train. But I hit every one. Saint 14 nods to the chicken, who stands tall and mighty, feathers sharp and puffed against the warring morning light. Colonel, the Pigeon Lord says do it again. I wouldn't argue. I love that Saint has adopted Kate's chicken.
I know.
Ugh, that warms my heart. We all just assumed Amanda was kind of taking care of him. Now
Yeah.
Saint is definitely taking care of him. I love that.
Well, it was either Amanda or Eris. You know?
Well,
I
Eris would probably eat him on the moon.
I don't know. I feel like Eris would, like, perform darkness.
Yeah, Eris
on
would have
it.
made the Colonel be bound to the darkness ritual that we just went through.
Yeah. Maybe that's the darkness power, is we just become chickens.
Yeah. So, I forget who requested it, but you have now gotten your lore reading in various voices that I promised during episode 100.
It's true.
I'd also like to note that I tweeted out this morning, I says, Dear God, please give me Kingsfall next week. And Johnny and Joasis decided they were going to give me a hard time. Johnny says it's going to be Vault of Glass 2.0. And then Joasis replies to both of us. And Joe, I'm upset with you for this one.
Uh-oh.
I'm still mad about it. Hours later. It's going to be Crown of Sorrow, first encounter only. You're banned.
You're banned.
You're banned.
Some people are still convinced that it's Crota's End coming back.
Listen, if it's Crota's End, that's going to be the most underwhelming thing they could have possibly done.
Yeah. I mean, not that this is like anybody should take this with any sort of real thought, but Glad tweeted out today that he's like, I'm still in the Crota's End camp, but I feel like they're going to tweak it and actually finish it to make it a good raid. And I'm like, what would they possibly add to it? Like, what are you going to add to it? You know, like, what would you add to it? I mean,
yeah.
And we don't have to answer this question tonight, but like, that was just like, I don't know. So, anyways.
Yeah, I could live with it if it was Wrath of the Machine. If it's Crota's End, something that arguably should be a dungeon by today's standards, we're going to have a problem. I truly think that this fan base would be incapable of handling it as adults at that point. And I mean, now listen, it would give me fodder for a while to sit here and rant and rave about, but nobody wants to hear that. I want something that everyone is going to enjoy. And that would have relevance. And I think if we're aiming towards Savathûn coming back eventually, why not show... We basically have the entire Hive story in this game now, with the exception of Crota's End and King's Fall.
Yeah.
So I do think Crota's End, and this is just a side speculation. I could be completely wrong with this next week. Watch it be Crota's End, and I'm just going to come in pissed off next week. Crota's End, if it comes back, I think should be like a bonus dungeon at some point. Like, don't make it one of the promised dungeons. Just be like, hey, we brought Crota's End back as a surprise for you guys. Like, maybe even like this Christmas, dump it in and be like, hey, we're giving you 2 dungeons technically. We're adding Crota's End back into the game because it was requested so much. And I think that would really only happen if Goliath really is going to be shown off soon. Be like, oh yeah, we're going to start migrating everything over to the D2 client and to making it accessible in the cloud. Like, this is just kind of a bonus thing we're going to add in with the, a suite of the weapons and things like that. I think that would be a good move, but man, if that's the raid, I'm going to be sorely disappointed.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely going to be
I like Crota because I'm really nostalgic for it. That's the most raiding I ever did up until D2 was I played Crota, I think, every week for like 6 months. Yeah. But that and Prison of Elders, as much as I'd like to see those back as dungeons, please hold off until like Final Shape is out if you're going to bring those back, or just throw them in as like a bonus pack. Yeah. Like if you did a legacy pack, and God, I just got done complaining about monetization. If you did like a legacy pack, maybe even like made it super discounted for the people who owned the original D1 expansions. Like if they're like tied to their accounts or something, I don't know. They're tied to your Bungie ID or something. I don't know how you would authenticate it, but make it to where like if you did it for $10 and you gave me Crota's End, you gave me the Skolas encounter in Prison of Elders as a dungeon, and like a selection of D1 strikes and like an exotic quest, I would buy that for $10-15. If you told me you needed more time to work on Lightfall, like hypothetically Lightfall wasn't going to be ready until like April, but to kind of ease that sting, we're going to give you guys a pack partway through next season, like we did the 30th anniversary, and because I truly think the 30th anniversary was testing the waters,
right? Yeah,
for future drops like that. I don't want this to happen every year, but if you were to do it for that, just to say, here's the final bit of the D1 content that we want to bring over, we're done after this.
Yeah,
I would be okay with that, and I could live with that.
Yeah, I mean, I could see them totally doing that type of package again with Lightfall or Final Shape, like that.
Yep.
What was it? $100 for the 30th anniversary plus Witch Queen Deluxe Edition, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I could see them doing that.
And I could live with that. I wouldn't like it, but I could live with it, knowing that, okay, it's over here, it's done now. Maybe it's part of like a huge effort to say, we're bringing over a couple final Destiny 1 maps and a handful of the strikes, and then we're done. We're done. No more content is being brought over from Destiny 1 anymore. No more exotics, nothing. We're done.
Right.
I would be okay with that. But I think there's no reason to not have some of the moon strikes in there. I think the Mars strikes could easily be in there now. The Reef, I mean, I don't think we had any strikes.
I don't think we have all the Cosmodrome strikes either, do we?
We do. The only one that we're missing is the one from Rise of Iron, which, honestly, who cares? That one was terrible.
Yeah.
I sure as hell don't want to run around in a circle from that guy on a Grandmaster, that's for sure. But I do think you bring up an interesting point, and I kind of hate that we're getting to this at the very end of the show, as we're trying to do outros. Maybe this is... I'll save it for next.
Let's save it for next week.
I'm saving it for next week. I've got something I want to talk about next week now.
Okay. Write it down so we don't forget.
I will.
Oh, man. All right, we're going to get out of here. If you want to hear those thoughts, tune in next week, I guess. I want to thank everybody for listening and or watching Tower Casuals, the Destiny podcast. Remember, if you listen on iTunes or Spotify, please leave us a 5-star rating and review. It really helps us out. It really helps with discoverability. If you want to watch us, you can subscribe to our YouTube channel, where all of Lore Corner is also broken out into separate videos and interesting topics and questions. Josh, thank you for your time tonight. As always, where can we find you?
Always. Josh_Finn, 2 N's on Twitter. I'm probably going to be bemoaning about cosmetics.
At least you won't be complaining about the Browns like I will be.
I can't believe that we did not get Baker Mayfield. I'm so upset.
Oh my gosh. You can find me at I am Corey HD on Twitter and Instagram. You can find me on various other shows on the internet. You can follow Tower Casuals on Twitter and Instagram at Tower Casuals. Email the show, towercasuals@gmail.com. And that's it. I want to thank everybody so much for watching and or listening. And until next time, we love you. Goodbye, Guardians.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.